introduction I have taken from Google, and then it may not be 100% correct. There may be some mistakes or incorrect information may be there, and I'll request Syamrani Didi to correct it whenever you feel that it is not a correct information. So a brief introduction about Syamrani Didi. Syamrani Didi was born in a Bhakt family. Her parents were both associated with the ISKCON. After graduating from Music and Arts High School in 1964, Syamrani Didi became a student at New York City College, majoring in art and history. In 1996, at the age of 19, she met her spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Ji Prabhupada, the founder Achar of ISKCON. Soon after meeting him, she was initiated and given the name Jadurani Dasi. Later on, in 1992, Syamrani Dasi got another name from our Param Gurudev, Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, as Syamrani Dasi. Srila Prabhupada taught her the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, and he sent her to various yoga groups, schools, and universities, including Harvard University. There, she represented her spiritual master's word in the mission to spread the science of God. Since 1996, she has painted over 2,000 paintings for Srila Prabhupada's temple and books under the guidance of his spiritual masters. As early as 96, Srila Prabhupada invited her to paint in his quarter, and she was therefore able to get many personal instructions from him on how to paint the spiritual world. She says that the glory of these paintings is that every detail came from scripture and her two self-realized gurus, Srila Prabhupada and Srila Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ji. Srila Prabhupada's books such as Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita, filled with the beautiful and colorful paintings of Syamrani Didi and her associates. Srila Prabhupada, in a letter to one of his disciples in 1969, wrote, "I am very much encouraged to learn that Jadurani is painting very nice pictures, and all of them can be utilized one after another to come out on the front page of Back to Godhead." In 1967, Srila Prabhupada made her the first art director in his ISKCON institution. Under Srila Prabhupada's careful guidance, Syamrani Didi became Syamrani Didi became one of the first teachers of the Krishna consciousness movement in the West. At present, she is honored as a speaker of Vedic philosophy throughout the world in countries like the US, Canada, England, Germany, Hong Kong, China, France, Italy, Malaysia, Australia, Brazil, and Costa Rica. With these few words, now I invite Syamrani Didi to pay her homage to our Param Gurudev, Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnupad Ashtotar Sat, Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ji. Didi.
Agyanam Timirandasya. Can you hear me okay?
It's slightly less.
Can you? Yeah, it's not working. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Didi, perfect.
Perfect? Loud enough?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Agyanam Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Todalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadvaktaya Namo Namah Yang Pravrajantam Manupetam Apeta Krityam Dvaipayano Virahakataruva Juhava Putriti Tanmayataya Taruvo Banidus Tang sarvabhuta hridayam munimanatosmi bhaktya vahinai aparadalakshay chiptasya kamadi tarangamadi kripamayi tvam sharanam prapadyam brinde namaste charanarvindam tavaivasmi na jivami tam vina iti vigyaya radhe tam nayamam charanantike. First, I offer my unlimited obeisances in the dust of the lotus feet of my most worshipful Diksha Gurudev, Nityalila Pravishta Ang Vishnupad, Astotra Sat Shishiman, Srila Bhakti Vedanta, Swami Prabhupada, and the same unlimited obeisances in the dust of the lotus feet of my most worshipful Shiksha Gurudev, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad, Astotra Sat Shishiman, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan, Goswami Maharaj, to all of our Gaudiya Guru Varga, and to all the beautiful assembled devotees. Just one correction I have. First of all, thank you for inviting me, the uninvitable. I'm sorry that I took the time away from Savita Didi, who could have gone on with beautiful realizations for hours more. And माफ कीजिए कि मैं बिल्कुल हिंदी नहीं बोल सकती हूँ. So I have one correction, which is that I met Prabhupada not in 1996, but in 1966. And it was then that Prabhupada started having me paint, first for his temples and then for his books. And then I did meet Srila Gurudev in 1992. So yesterday, when Atul Krishna Prabhu asked me to speak, I said, is there any, obviously it was about my experiences with Srila Gurudev, but I said, is there any particular aspect that you want me to speak about? And I thought it would be like about the paintings, because that's a unique experience that I have with Gurudev that no one else has. But rather, he and the others on the phone said, speak about my challenges in preaching and how perhaps I overcome them by Gurudev's association. So we're going to go there. Whenever I heard anything from Srila Prabhupada, starting from 66 up to 77, I would run around and tell everybody what I had just heard. And then I would tell the next people and the next people. And that's how I remember something that is like it happened yesterday. That's why I can remember up till today. So when Srila Gurudev, when I started having his association, hearing his classes and having personal darshans, I did the same with him. That is, I'd repeat what he said everywhere. I'd start giving classes in ISKCON where I was, on his classes, and sharing with my ISKCON friends whatever I'd heard from him. However, I didn't take into consideration that many of them would not be able to digest what Gurudev was saying at that time, which included his hopes that we would all come to Raganuga Bhakti, which Srila Prabhupada had always been saying, but which I hadn't caught at the time. So I repeated and repeated, and then the ISKCON gurus, who were my friends, started criticizing that Gurudev is a Sahajiya and I'm a Sahajiya and what's going on there. And so the devotees, my godbrothers and godsisters who were seeing Gurudev with me, were also complaining to me, saying that I was just disturbing everything, disturbing the ISKCON devotees and ruining Gurudev's reputation. So I asked him that how can I discriminate between who to tell. I think I need to go on the mic. I need to discriminate. How do I discriminate between who to tell what to? I'm running out of voice. I think I need to go
We
on
can
that.
hear you. Just put it closer.
All right, you go closer. Is this good? Is this good for you? The sound is good?
Now it's better. Thank you.
Okay, great. So he said, the reason that you're having a hard time discriminating is because you're on the platform of Vaidhi Bhakti, which is the platform of the intelligence. So if you want to be able to discriminate, you'll have to come to the platform of Raganuga Bhakti, which is the heart platform. And the heart will dictate exactly who to tell what to. He also chastised me. He said, you don't know how to keep anything secret. You don't know how to keep anything sacred. Then everyone will be disturbed and they'll misunderstand what you said and there'll be no fruit. In fact, there will be a fruit, but that fruit will be rotten. He also said that if you repeat these things without giving credit to the person who you heard it from, that's also an offense. He said, so it's important to be very careful to know who is the audience. Then, so that helped with that challenge of just being a big blabbermouth with everything that Gurudev said. Then he said people should not even know what you're trying to practice. It should be so hidden. Then another time, I had the challenge of preaching to devotees and aspiring devotees to stop following their guru, who I considered that they weren't pure devotees. So that was also creating a big disturbance, and I also got, at that time, back in the 80s, I also got rejected from that institution. And then when I started seeing Srila Gurudev in the early 90s, I just kept up with it. I just kept, whenever I had the opportunity, I said, these gurus aren't bona fide because they're not appointed and so many things. So then finally I got smart enough to ask Gurudev about it. And he said, the initiated devotee, even if his guru is not fully pure, he must think that my Gurudev is an Uttama Adhikari, that he's very dear to Krishna, and whatever he does is pleasing to Krishna, and that he's Krishna Swarup. So I said, yeah, but they used to do that, and then the gurus fell down, and they did so many abominable things, and now the disciples these days, they prefer to think of their guru on a lower level. So he said, no, that's not proper. He said they must think that the guru is Krishna Swarup. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to follow them. If the disciples thought this guru is not pure, then when the guru says something good instruction, like chant, read Srimad Bhagavatam, or any smaller instruction, they wouldn't be able to follow, and everything would fall apart. All right, so what's the solution? He gave me the solution. I said, but then the people become heartbroken when they put their whole heart in someone, and then their heart gets broken. So he said, it's not your affair. Krishna will arrange everything. They will develop, even if their guru is not pure. If their guru is not pure and is telling them something bogus, then they should just offer obeisances to that bogus guru and move on and try to find a bona fide guru. But otherwise, if he's saying what sounds like the right philosophy and giving the right instructions, they will develop, and they'll develop to the point where gradually Krishna will personally arrange that they reconsider and find a more advanced guru. Then I said, okay, well, all these devotees, they're singing to their gurus, Nikunja Jono Rati Keli Siddhai, that their guru was in Goloka Vrindavan, and they were arranging the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. But if that's not true, then does this have any effect? So Gurudev said, yes, it has so much effect. Why? Because Balaram is a Khanda Guru. Guru represents a Khanda Guru. Even if he's not pure, Baladev is there. And Baladev is a Khanda Guru because Nityananda Prabhu is a Khanda Guru. And Krishna is a Khanda Guru. So they will take the worship and they will make the disciple advance to a certain point and then give guidance from within how to move on. So you don't have to worry about anything. You can just go on preaching purely. Okay, that was that one. Another challenge I had was that Gurudev was teaching us from the songs of the Acharyas to pray for the personal service of Srimati Radhika. When will I bathe you? When will I dress you? When will I go out with you on Abhisar to meet with Krishna? Not making up prayers, but repeating the prayers of Raghunath Das Goswami and Rupa Goswami, praying for such service. So my basic whole upbringing in Krishna consciousness, being with Srila Prabhupada, or hearing what I wanted to hear, was preach, preach, preach. The people are suffering. Give them whatever you know of Krishna consciousness. Give out the books. So I didn't hear, although now when I look back at Srila Prabhupada's books, I see so much the same instructions, the same mood as Srila Gurudev, but it wasn't my time to see it then. So I was always concentrating on preaching. So one day I asked Srila Gurudev, all right, so when I pray to Srimati Radhika for personal services, is it okay to add my PS, that is PS, so that I can preach better? Is that okay? So Gurudev replied, go on doing so. When Srimati Radhika will bestow her mercy on you, then you become mad in Krishna Prem. And then what will your preaching do? I said, well, I guess it'll be more effective. But I mean, should I pray my PS that so my preaching will become more effective? Or should I just forget that part and pray for the services? So we said, at that time, your preaching will become most beautiful. Anyone who sees you weeping, weeping and rolling on the ground, your preaching will be hundreds of thousands of times more effective than it is now. He said Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's preaching was more effective when he was in the Gambhira and weeping, oh Krishna, where are you, where are you, than when he was chanting in general for the masses. He said, and if you have taste for what I'm telling you, you'll forget your body. You'll forget if your sari is on or off. And when your sari is dragging on the ground, at that time, your preaching will be millions of times more effective. And anyone who hears you, they will become gopis. They will become self-realized. And I had always heard that from Srila Prabhupada, but whenever I heard something from Srila Gurudev, it's like a light bulb went off, in my head, and then I remembered, oh yes, of course, Prabhupada. Not exactly in those words, of course, because I wasn't ready to hear that, but same principle. Like, he gave us the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and in chapter 9, it says that Janma Sartaka Kori Karo Paro Upakar, first become realized and then preach. But of course, he didn't want us to not preach, not distribute his books, not bring out kirtan. So he said, by preaching you'll become pure. Then Gurudev told me, now you're distributing letters. You're distributing telegrams. You're just like a postal peon. You have no realization. Because you don't know what's in those letters. You don't know what's in those telegrams. Your preaching will become so fruitful when you become realized. And then showing me the mood of a preacher. What will make, well, his mood, because we all know that his mood is that he's a gopi, and he tries to hide it, and he does, but he emanates it. Like one time, we were in Bombay, and everybody was allowed to have darshan with Gurudev, except for me, because my former husband, Satsvarup Maharaj, was one of the sannyasis who was in Srila Gurudev's darshans. So then Gurudev went on a morning walk one day in Bombay, and so I couldn't be on the morning walks either. But I walked up to him and I said, Gurudev, I wish I was a sannyasi. So he said, you wish you were a sannyasi? I wish I was a gopi. Anyway, so that was just a side issue. But then, giving his own mood, as a pure preacher, he said, I weep only that I want to be realized. I have no realization. I have no tears. Krishna's name should come with tears. The heart should be melting. This is real sadhan bhajan. Think of yourself always as a Palyadasi of Radharani. Then, so that was that challenge. In other words, I don't have to pray, so my preaching will be better. It's just automatic. And then I had another challenge, and that is in 1992, when I first started coming to Srila Gurudev. My plan was, okay, I'll stay here for a little while, and then, because I wasn't planning to stay in India, I was just visiting, I'll go back to America, collect all my things, and then I had been invited by the leaders of Bombay to go and do preaching engagements there. So I thought, okay, so then I'll go back to Bombay, I'll preach up a storm, I'll stay there for 6 months at least, and every once in a while I'll come and visit Srila Gurudev in Vrindavan. So, but I'd already heard from him that my preaching wasn't so effective. In fact, even on my very, very first meeting with him, because I'd been giving classes, as you heard from the Google, I've been giving classes all over the world. So I told Gurudev, I know how to quote a lot of books and letters from Prabhupada, so I can give the information, but I have no experience of what I'm saying. So what is that? I have no realization. So he said, or maybe I said little realization. And he said, that's no realization. You have no realization, so you'll have no effect and you'll have no understanding. So that's how he answered me at that time. but this time he got into it more. When I asked about going to Bombay, he said, "What will you preach in Bombay? You'll be preaching A, B, C, D, E, F. Simply the basics of Vaidhi Bhakti. And your mind will be there. You'll be living with those devotees. You won't have the Rasik Bhakta, and you won't have the Rasik land. So how will you advance?" So I said, "So are you telling me not to go to Bombay?" He said, "No, I'm not telling you anything. I'm just telling you that if you're just preaching basics and you don't know anything else higher, and you're not discussing anything higher anywhere, then you'll just stay there." So then, a few days later, I was supposed to go to Bombay, and my plane was delayed for 3 days. And although the what do you call those people who help you get on planes and trains?
Airline.
What?
Airline.
Yeah, not airline people, but the people at Krishna Balaram Mandir who were arranging the flights. So they tried their best, but they could not get that plane or any plane to come earlier. So I went to visit Gurudev. I'd already said my goodbyes, and I went to visit Gurudev, and I said, "So my plane is delayed for 3 days." So Gurudev held up his arm, held up his hand, and he said, "I have told the plane when to come. I have told the plane when to come." And everybody in the room, all my god sisters, burst out laughing. Everyone was laughing except for me. And I asked, "What's going on here?" They just kept laughing. And then Gurudev again put his arm and finger up and said, "I have told the plane when to come." And then, during the next 3 days, the association, it was always incredible to have association with Gurudev. But those days were specifically incredibly, so that in the next 3 days, I decided not to go to Bombay. So then I understood what he said when he said, "I have told the plane to come." We've heard that the pure devotee has all 8 mystic opulences, and this was one of them. This was an example of one of them. So now, having spent so much time with Srila Gurudev, I'm able to do the balance. So once I asked him, because, well, I don't want to go into the whole history of why I asked, but I asked Gurudev, how can I be fearless when I preach? Because I was very nervous that I had formally left my previous institution, and I was just afraid that some people would do something bad to me. It was just my crazy paranoia. If I just preached the truth about what is the reality, who is Prabhupada, because I had asked Gurudev, like, in what way can I preach that Prabhupada is actually a maid servant of Srimati Radhika? And Gurudev said, he said, "Bombay is my office, Navadvip is my place of sadhan, and Vrindavan is my home. And what is Vrindavan? It is the place of Srimati Radhika. And how should you preach about Prabhupada being a maidservant? Boldly and artfully." So I was afraid that not only that part, but other parts, something bad was going to happen to me. I don't know why. So I asked him, how can I be fearless? So he quoted one verse from Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, and he said, "Tambulardanapadamardanapaya dhamma visara dibi Vrindaranya Maheswarim Priyataya Yato Shayanti Priya. Prana Presta Sakhi Kulada Pikila Sankochita Bhumikai Kali Bhumi Surupa Manjari Makas Tadasika Sangsraye Aham. Which is, I offer my obeisances to the maidservants of Srimati Radhika, who are headed by Sri Rupa Manjari. They're always engaged in giving Radharani water to drink, water for washing her feet, taking her out to Abhisar, and they're able to be in places where Radharani and Krishna are engaged in their most confidential pastimes. They're able to be there when even the Pran-Presta Sakhis, Radharani's best friends, can't go there, where they hesitate to go. So after saying that verse, Gurudev said, meditate on this, that Krishna, let's say I'm Gurudev, and Gurudev is saying, Krishna is there, on that side, and he's like this, like ready to get some prasadam. And then Radharani is here, and Krishna's there, Radharani is here, and Radharani is going like that, and giving Krishna prasadam, or tambul, and Krishna is looking up at her like that, like a subordinate. So meditate on this to show the power of Srimati Radhika. And you're taking shelter of her maidservants, you're taking shelter of her, so that will give you fearlessness in your preaching, or just in general. And then I also asked him, how can I preach without Purushabhav? I mean, I always have Purushabhav, but it just goes into the preaching too. So, how can I preach without Purushabhav? That is, I am doing it. So he said, just remember, I am a Palyadasi of Srimati Radhika. I am a servant of Rupa Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami. And I am not preaching, my Gurudev is preaching. In fact, once in Badger, at the end of one of his classes, I asked him, so let's say I'm going out on book distribution, and I'm thinking, okay, I just distributed a book. So I'm not thinking of it in a proud way, but I'm just thinking, oh, I just distributed that book. So what is that? And Gurudev said, your Gurudev distributed the book. You can't do anything. So in many ways, he tried to show us how to be humble in everything that we do. And let me see. One time, again, to show us by his own example how to be a humble preacher, a few of my god sisters and I were in his room, and when one of my god sisters came in, he said, how are you? She said, I'm good, I'm okay. He said, why are you okay? She said, because I'm sitting with you. So then Gurudev said, I'm not okay. Why are you not okay? Because I'm not chanting, not doing bhajan sadhan, sitting idle, speaking with others. I get no time for doing bhajan, for chanting, for reading. I'm always thinking, what to do, and that's how he was speaking, what to do. So I said, but you're always living with Krishna. And he said, I always think that I can't do bhajan. I only take prasadam and sleep. And then he took a deep breath. And again, take prasadam and sleep. I give harikatha to others, but I do nothing for myself. So, what to do? And we know that the pure devotee, even though on one side he's experiencing all the ecstasy of pure devotion and the service of Radha and Krishna and so on, at the same time he's really thinking that he's so low. When I first, when we first went with him to Badger, so that was that one. When we first went with him to Badger in 1996, he told us, because a lot of the Badger devotees were meeting him for the first time, so he said, when the parents see that the children are very young, they can't give the children money, the money that's destined for them later. They can't give the children money at that time, because what would I do if I was a 5-year-old and I got $1 million? I'd probably get 10 billion pieces of bubble gum. So he said, so the parents leave a bond, B-O-N-D, that when my child is 21 years old, then they will get all of this wealth. And so he said, now you're of the age. Prabhupada left you the bond, and now you're of the age, because he told me to give you all those things. And he would explain it in 3 different ways. I'm giving you the shovel, by which you can dig more deeply into Srila Prabhupada's books. And I'm giving you the torchlight, by which you can see more clearly what's in Srila Prabhupada's books. And I'm giving you the key by which you can unlock the deeper treasure that's within Srila Prabhupada's books. Because Srila Prabhupada's books are like a treasure chest, and they're for the whole world. Everyone in the world is reading Srila Prabhupada's books and getting something out of them. But inside that treasure chest, there's a smaller treasure chest, and that treasure chest is locked. The deeper meanings of whatever Prabhupada is teaching in his books and his lectures and darshans, kirtans, explanations of his kirtans, and so on. He said, so I'm giving you the key to unlock that deeper treasure. And for the challenge of a lot of his girls, a lot of his daughters, like one time he called on one of his daughters named Damodari, who was studying to be a lawyer. And he said, stand up and tell why your Prabhupada came to America and why I came. So she was just really nervous. And, I'm not qualified enough to speak in front of you, all advanced devotees, and just like that. He said, get some strength. Say the prayers to your Guru Varga, and that will give you confidence to speak. So she did that, and then she spoke very nicely. And then he said, I don't want my girls to be like mew, 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 like little kitties. I want them to be like lions jumping over the elephants. I want them to be like me. I want them to be like Draupadi, because, as you know from the Mahabharata, some of the Kshatriyas were vying to get married, to be chosen by Draupadi as her husband. So when Karna was up there, he was just about to shoot, and she knew, Draupadi knew, that Karna would be able to defeat Arjuna even. So she said, wait, stop. Who's your parents? What's your lineage? I won't marry anyone who's not a Kshatriya. Of course, we know that Karna was a Kshatriya, son of the sun god. But by Krishna's arrangement, it looked like he was the son of a charioteer. So she was very bold. And Gurudev said, I want you to be like her. And then a challenge in preaching for me was that I was writing my Art of Spiritual Life, which is my memoir with all my years of remembrances of Srila Prabhupada. And then my first year of remembrances with Srila Gurudev, that was 1992. And so I stopped there because I'm hoping to have a second volume. But anyway, I was working on my manuscript of Srila Prabhupada, and this was 1995. And I had already been kicked out of India by the leaders of a previous institution that I was in and sent to America. What do you call that when you get sent away from a country?
Deported.
Huh? It's like deported or...
Extradited?
Yeah. So anyway, so there I was in America working on the manuscript and writing what I had known about Prabhupada and what I realized about Prabhupada and his teachings and his Guru Varga. And so then, all of a sudden, I saw, Gurudev was in India, but I saw him in this big open garage, sitting on a chair with his legs crossed, and he was pulling on my computer. And I was pulling back. Don't take my computer. I'm in the middle of my writing, I was thinking. But he kept pulling on my computer. So then, a couple of months later, somehow or other, I got from America to Europe. And Gurudev was going to be going to Europe. And I was told by some institutional leaders not to go and see him. Obviously, that he wasn't following Srila Prabhupada. So I was smart enough to call him up. Prajanath Prabhu arranged that I could speak to him. And he said, "I'm there with you. I'm trying to help you. Didn't you see me?" I said, "No, I didn't see you." He said, "You didn't see me?" And that's what he meant, that he was pulling the computer. Because by pulling the computer, I wouldn't be able to finish the book for many years, and I would have all that association with Srila Gurudev from 1996, because I did go and meet with him again in a stealthy way, and then in a blatant way. So I'd have from that till forever association with him, so that I can understand Prabhupada better and have a much more powerful book. So I said last year, when we were in India together, I told you that they said that I can't stay with you anymore and that I have to go back to America. So what do you think about that? And he said, because the last year when I told him that, he said, yes, go back and be like, what's his name, Akrura, in the house of Kamsa. Because Akrura didn't say anything when he was in the house of Kamsa. He never told how he really felt. And so finally Kamsa sent him to Vrindavan, and then Krishna was able to kill Kamsa. So he said, in other words, don't say anything, but don't get into management, don't get into money, don't get into position. So then, when I called him up, he said, I said, I didn't understand you last year when you told me to go back. And he had said, because I won't be able to provide you a place to stay, and I wouldn't be able to provide you, you wouldn't be able to do very good bhajan. And those were all bogus statements. But because of my lack of sukritis and sanskars, I believed them, and I did go back to America for a while. So then when I finally met him in England, or Holland, I said, I didn't understand you when you told me you wouldn't be able to do good bhajan if you're with me. I wouldn't be able to provide a nice place to stay. And then he said, yes, go back to your husbands. Even if they're lame, black, poor, mean, that's the highest duty of a chaste woman. So he finished what I was saying. In other words, he was admitting that he was saying bogus things just to test me, and I failed. So now I'm able to speak as I like without any fear. And as long as I am balanced and telling the right things to the right people, I can go as far as I want, as long as it's the right people and they can understand, and it's all balanced by basic philosophy. I told Gurudev one time, in ISKCON, I'm like practically the most senior devotee. I'm the second senior girl of all the devotees. But in your society, I feel like I'm junior to the junior. So I don't know what to do. So he said, you look on both sides. When you look on the side of the people who are just coming, then you think, I know something. And when you look towards your guru, then you think, I know nothing. So you go back and forth, back and forth. And so that's that. And then how he helped with preaching was precision. He would always push precision. Again and again. Krishna is not of Mathura. He is of Vrindavan. Yogamaya comes from Radha, but she just forgets. Manjari Bhav is the goal. And Radharani is the perfect example of a Hoitaki Bhakti. Because I had learned when I was, before I met Srila Gurudev, you know that verse, Sarve Pungsam Paro Dharmo Yato Bhaktir Hoksajay Ahoitakiya Pratihata Jainatma Suprasidati. That is, the highest dharma for mankind is to engage in the service of Adhoksaja, Krishna, who is transcendental to the material senses. Only that service that is uninterrupted and unmotivated can completely satisfy the self. So when I first met Gurudev, my god sister, who had already been seeing him for a while, said, oh, and Jadharani is such a senior preacher. She preached all over the world, one of Prabhupada's most senior. So Gurudev said to me, oh, really? You're a senior? What does this verse mean? And he said that verse, Sarve Punksapuro Dharma. So all I could remember was Prabhupada's example of the ladies during World War I and II who went to church and prayed for their husbands and fathers and so on to come back safely. But when they didn't, because the ladies' service was motivated, I want my husband's lovers, sons, etc. to come back. When that didn't happen, oh, God is bad, or there is no God, and they stopped coming to church. I said, that's my conception of causeless, to not be like that. So Gurudev went deeper. That's another thing that I got in preaching from Gurudev, was to go, in his words, deep, deeper, deepest. Of course, I don't have the mood, but at least the words I could do, or something like the words. A semblance, or what looked like the words, but was just syllables. So, what was I saying? Yeah, so he said, who is Ahoitaki? Who does causeless devotional service? Srimati Radhika. She's the highest emblem of causeless service. So he said, do you know how? He said, because Krishna not only danced with all the gopis in Vrindavan, but then he left Vrindavan and he married 16,000 queens. And he had 10 sons and 1 daughter from each queen. And all told, his grandchildren added up to 1 million. But do you think that Radharani's love declined or went down, decreased? No, her love increased and increased. That is causeless devotional service. So precision and depth, so many wonderful things. One time, he called me to speak, and I'm going to stop here. He called me to speak. Haribo. He called me to speak in Germany on the verse Amnaya Praha Tattvam Harer Iha Paramam Sarva Shakti Rasabdim. That is, what is the 10 truths in Jaiva Dharma that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give. So I said, okay, so the stood up there, yes. I said, so the Vedic literatures is the body of evidence. He said, no. The Vedic evidence that is accepted by our Guru Parampara. And then I started fumbling. Yeah, the Vedic literatures, that's what I said. He said, look, I'm trying to train you. So he worked hard at forcing precision for his preachers. Okay, so I'm ending here. I already spoke too long. And thank you all very much for your patience. And it was an honor to be with you. So, Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindu Vacha Patitanam Vaish Srila Gurudev Ki Jai Ho. That was amazing.
Didi, a friend of mine came all the way from. Oh, you're still there.
All right, so now I'm turning off the audio.
Yeah, thank you, Didi, for your wonderful words. And we learned a lot from your Gungan of our Param Gurudev. And it was nice listening to you. But because of the time constant, we will have to close it. So thank you very much, Didi. आपके चरणों में अनंत कोटि दंडवत प्रणाम. और प्रभु जी अभी जो है और कुछ करना है क्या, बंद करना है वो?
We cannot hear you.
We cannot hear you.
Didi, we can't hear you. There's no. You're on mute. You're on mute.
You have to unmute yourself. Host can unmute.
Oh, one second.
Okay. No, I didn't say anything important. I was just saying Dhanavad Pranam to you all. And thank you for allowing me to participate.
Hare Krishna, Didi,
And force me to remember Srila Gurudev,
one very
who's our life and soul. Okay, see you soon. Radhe Radhe, Dhanavad Pranam.
राधे दंडवत प्रणाम दीदी.
special word.
सभी के चरणों में यथा दंडवत प्रणाम. और now we'll close this meeting for today. After hearing from Savita Didi and Syamrani Didi. Thank you, everybody. You keep on joining for next few days when we are organizing this meeting. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Dandava Pranam.